It's moving day, aka I'm moving. So I've got a different camera view here. So excuse the mess and excuse the fact that we don't have any fancy lounge music like we normally do during our lounge period.
The
And I'm in,
instruments are already packed up. They're already
yeah.
in the van.
So yeah, some of the fancy equipment has gone away. I'm just down to the bare bones. And we've been trying to like get food out of the apartment too. So
You know how you do
um,
that? You just stuff it right in your face.
that's what we've been doing. A lot of snacking, a lot of unnecessary snacking, a lot of sandwich making.
Hmm.
We're basically on a peanut butter sandwich diet. Yeah, it's a dire situation here. But next week should be great. I'll be in the new pad, new office, new get up. It's gonna be great.
Well, speaking of new things, Doug, we've talked a lot about my computer at home, and
Mm-hmm.
I took the plunge. New MacBook Air,
Whoop,
officially
whoop.
on, officially in the house, I should say. So yes, very excited for that. It only took me a fraction of the time it usually takes me to crack open my laptop and log on and meet you in this virtual space. So
Well, let
very
me just
happy
say
about
the
that.
camera is
Thank you.
great. I mean, the camera is great. It's doing a lot for you right now.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting right now, Doug. But let me tell you something. That camera, you start to compare stuff. Like I mean, I'm sure you've done it. You've gotten lost on the Apple website or the various review websites when they start to review stuff. I mean, the camera on the new iPad Pro or whatever I can't imagine there being a better one. But you were so right. I was looking at the iPad and I was like, I don't, I have an iPad. The kids take it sometimes, but I want the computer. I want the full blown keyboard. I want to be able to take this thing around. And I think this thing's actually lighter than would a iPad Pro with a Magic keyboard. So
I'm
win
telling
win
you,
win
you
win
made
win
you
win.
made the right decision, my friend.
Mm-hmm. I
This
got.
what?
I was just say I got to go to the Apple store again. So things are getting back to normal. It's great.
This is not a serious Hornets podcast. I'm Doug Branson, joined by my friend, as always, David Walker. This show is a listener supported show. Sign up at patreon.com/Hornets pod to help us keep making this show for you every week, where we talk about the Hornets and we talk about shoes and we talk about what we're watching and we give out some medals at the end. Let's begin, David, with a recap. It was a busy week in Hornets land. They had 5 games since we last spoke to you. They took a loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks didn't quit this time. They were ready for the Hornets. They played everybody. 114-104 loss to the Bucks. Rematch against Boston, and again another example of a team that was just ready for what the Hornets had to offer. That was a loss, 120-111, and then a win over the Detroit Pistons, the 12th straight win over the Detroit Pistons on May 1st, 107-94, and then a loss to the Miami Heat, 121-111. And then a win over the Detroit Pistons last night, the
Thank you.
13th straight victory against the Detroit Pistons. They cannot lose to the bad boys. 102-99, the final score. What are your thoughts on this past week? A really kind of make or break week for the Hornets. They needed a couple of W's in order to stay in contention for the play-in.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was getting nervous about, man. I mean, you don't think it's going to happen. When I talked to Walker a couple of weeks ago, things look pretty good just based on where Toronto and Chicago are, in the race for that last spot or being a couple games behind the Hornets, but they really can't afford to slip up a lot. And a couple weeks ago, I looked at the last part of the schedule and you thought, it was going to be a little bit of smooth sailing, but after these next 2 games, I mean, they're playing people that are probably going to be playing actual real basketball as opposed to trying to tank. And of course, I just saw that Zach LaVine will make his return against Charlotte on Thursday.
Very good.
So that's something to look forward to. But yeah,
And
go ahead.
well, as I look at the standings here, right now the Hornets remain in the 8th seed at 32-33. They are a game and a half up on the Pacers. They are 2 games up on the Wizards for that final spot in the play-in. And then you'd have to go 3.5 games more back to find the Toronto Raptors,
Right.
and then another half game back for the Bulls. So could the Hornets fall out of the play-in entirely? Yes, but it would take a pretty
It takes a
historic.
lot on both ends,
Yeah,
right?
it would take a
We're usually
collapse
on
by
the
the
other end of
Hornets.
that. Yeah, we're
Right.
usually on the other end of that, having to win everything and then needing some luck. And now, the Bulls and the Raptors, they don't even want to make it. I mean, they don't want to make the play in. I don't think the Raptors, I know, don't. They just want to go home.
It
But
doesn't seem like anyone really wants to play in the play-in. I mean, that's kind of the story coming out of the NBA right now, that everybody's bitching about the play-in.
Yeah, I am excited about it
Well, of
personally,
course,
and I think
fans are.
fans are right. But I
I just meant
think
players, coaches, anyone involved with actually playing in the play-in seems to be
sure.
against playing in the play-in.
It's almost like they could have discussed that beforehand, and come to some sort of agreement, on both sides
Yeah,
that
maybe
we're going to go
maybe
forward.
collectively bargain some
Right,
of these things, maybe.
right. But of course, there is a significant advantage, I think, to be in the 7-8
Yes.
opposed to the 9-10, because then you essentially get two shots at making it, as my understanding. Because 7 will play 8, that winner is in the 7 spot. Then 8 plays the winner of 9-10. The winner of that is in the 8 spot. These are my air brackets. Mm-hmm. So I think the Hornets want to definitely stay above that line. So they would host. They wouldn't host a game if they're in 7. I suppose you would host the 7-8 game, and then you would host. And if you're 8, you would.
Right, so you get a home game.
Right. Yeah.
So
but I guess if you're 8, you could win on the road and not get a home game, I suppose, right, in the play-in tournament.
That's correct. Yeah. So if you win, if you play the Celtics and you win, then you're in the 7th seed. Or well, it's right now it's the Celtics, but that's a good point too. It could be the Heat. It could be the Hawks. It would take a pretty historic collapse for the Knicks to fall into that 7th seed.
That'd be fun.
But certainly not out of the realm of possibility. But yeah, so I think, and all of those teams, I mean, they've shown the ability to beat the Celtics. They've shown the ability to beat the Heat. They almost swept the Heat on the season. So you got to feel good if you're the Hornets, because you can beat these teams. It's just a matter of what bodies you're going to have at this point.
That's the thing. Who's going to be healthy? The Miles Bridges news was really a kick in the gut yesterday, thinking he may be out, 2 weeks, whatever. So given how well he was playing, that sucks. You are getting back LaMelo, obviously a difference maker. Gordon Hayward was doing a little work pregame last night. I mean, could that be another addition you get back by the time the play-in or the playoffs start? That would certainly be helpful. I mean, at full strength, I think you feel good about the Hornets playing any of those teams. But obviously, Washington's on a super roll right now. I don't, that's not someone I think you want to see in a do or die situation. Russell Westbrook, but I don't feel like any of that is out of reach if the Hornets have bodies on the floor, like you said.
Yeah, I feel confident that the Hornets could possibly take a game from the Celtics or the Heat at full strength. I feel confident they could survive against the Pacers. I, like you, am a little worried about that Wizards situation. They are 8-2 in their last 10. They're just figuring things out.
What the hell is happening?
I don't know.
That's not right.
I'm going to ask somebody on Locked On NBA, like, what the hell? That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything about the Wizards. I'm just going to say what the hell, and they're going to be like, yeah, I know, Russell Westbrook's playing amazing.
Well, so yeah, I mean, how real is that? How sustainable is that? I haven't been paying super attention to the Wizards, but I mean, my gosh, they're on such a roll now. I know, but like, is that something they take into next year? Do they roll with Beal and Westbrook now? Is like that's their tandem, and they have to add to it? I mean, I guess.
Well, see, this is to me. And I think you and I have some unique perspective on this of a team that's like rolling like this towards, but rolling into mediocrity as opposed to like rolling into the playoffs to become a 4th or 5th seed.
Right.
Like, I think you have to be, if you're the Wizards management, you have to look at this as like, oh, this is cool, but I don't want to let this influence my decision about the direction of the franchise moving forward. There's a big danger in that. But let's turn the focus back to the Charlotte Hornets and the return of LaMelo Ball. David, I don't think we can understate what his impact has been since he returned. Like, he turns the Hornets it's instant. I mean, he turns the Hornets from a team that's not a must-watch into an absolute must-watch. It's always going to be must-watch for us, the hardcore fans, the people that watch the show. But it just turns it into must watch for the entire nation, it seems like. And of course, talk about instant impact. I mean, just several minutes into that first game, he comes back and he throws that incredible pass to Miles Bridges. I have no idea. Like he broke physics. I mean, it was crazy. The underhanded pass somehow finding 3/4 court, somehow finding Miles Bridges under the basket, ready for a layup. I don't know how he times it. I don't know how he gets the right speed, the right altitude. I mean, it seemed like a ballistic missile, like going so high up in the air, but then somehow finding its target. I mean, the U.S. military needs to contact LaMelo this instant and get him into the war room because this man is throwing missiles.
Well, and he did another one against the Pistons when he caught it one-handed and he curved it. Like you watch the replay, I think it was McDaniels he hit on the baseline there for a wide open dunk, of course, but he curves that ball and it just finds his teammate, and he makes things so much easier for the other people. But I think the main thing that you said there was the instant impact. There was not a warm-up period. There was not any rust at all. From the get-go. The scoring came in the Pistons game, but everything else was there from the start, and it looked like he had not missed any time. Immediately, I think, closed the book on the Rookie of the Year race, if people care about that, and I know there's a lot of people out there that do. But you just watch these games. He's never looked like a rookie. I mean, flashes here and there, but the impact he makes on the game, the way he plays the game, and the deciding moments, the way he moves people. There was a play last night to Biz. Oh, Biz. Catching that ball and ducking
hold
it.
on. Listen, we got to credit Biz, by the way, for the win. I'm crediting Biz for last night's win. Yes.
I was going to credit him for keeping it going so long when he should have grabbed the rebound instead of paddling it back out so they could hit a three.
That's fair, but I would say he didn't foul Saban Lee on that final shot. And I was...
Well, we could talk about that. I always thought they were going to foul.
My booty was clenched. I was like, please don't foul him while he's shooting. And send him to the line for
close.
3 free throws.
He was towing the line. He was towing the line, but JB apparently told them not to foul, which I don't know, man. I think I've gone to the other side on this where you do foul, but it's a no-win. It's a no-win situation.
Well, see what it is. Coaches are so afraid of doing that and something happening on that second free throw.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then they fully get the blame.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those decisions where you either look like a hero or a zero, and there's really no in between. I think it's even worse. I want to say it's even worse than like going for 2 versus not going for 2. Because
I see.
Because at least in that instance, you kind of control things and you're trying to win the game. Whereas if you foul you're already winning the game. And if you foul someone and then lose it there, then you are sort of playing not to lose. So I think it's worse.
Okay. I think it's
I'm just telling you, I'm just trying to crawl into the mind of an NBA head coach and trying to get into the psyche and determine why this isn't happening, because it just so rarely happens. I see it more in college.
And here's the thing: if there was an analytical proof that this works, I think then you'd see it across the board, right? You'd see some sort of study done where, hey, this you foul, but I don't think there is.
You're right. Why? It's a good point. Why aren't the top mathematicians in the United States working on this?
I mean, why isn't this a Sloan Conference presentation? I'm sure it's been worked in there at some point, but I was nervous, of course. Who was out there with them? Biz and somebody else was out there. So it was
Biz and McDaniels, I think, were up top on the trap.
Geez. Oh boy. Well, anyway, I think I started that off with the pass that LaMelo made to Biz in the first half, or an easy dunk. He moves the defense with his eyes. It was like a quarterback moving that defensive back. It's amazing what he does, and he's able to just jump right back into it. He's able to make the impact, to lead the team, go back into the starting lineup. So yeah, obviously I didn't know if he by himself would be able to kind of vault this team up a notch to where they were. but it's pretty damn close, man. I mean, it's good to have him back for sure.
Have
I'm
you
excited to see him in a postseason situation.
have you ever moved anything with your eyes? I come pretty close in the sandwich line, getting a pub sub, looking at the different toppings as I'm trying to make my very, quick estimates as to what things are going to mix well with what meats. And I'm moving my eyes and I'm kind of just moving the person's hand because they're trying to anticipate me. The line's long. People we're trying to go, make a decision. I think I think that's as close as I come to moving anything with my eyes.
I think when I'm in a situation, like if you're at a party with someone or you're in an uncomfortable conversation or you're at a place with someone and you want to leave, when
It's
you
true.
catch their eyes and you give them one of those,
Or you
that's
kind of
the thing, I think.
look back, you go, what's that? Okay. Oh, I gotta go. And
Yeah,
you can kind of look them off.
right.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know. We used to call this when I went to Chapel Hill. We used to call this giving people the brick eye, because so Chapel Hill, the campus is a lot of brick sidewalks all through the campus.
Stone walls, sure, yeah.
So when you passed by somebody in the quad that you didn't really want to talk to for various reasons, we would say give them the old brick eye, which just means kind of look down. This is kind of this was like 05, 06. It was pre cell phones. Like now it's easy. You just look at your cell phone if you don't want to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Then you had to be we weren't quite there with everybody having a cell phone that you could look at that was nice to look at all the time. So you gave them the old brick eye, just kind of look down at the bricks and move on. So I could move somebody off me by give them the old brick eye.
Sure.
This is a good conversation. I'm glad we had it.
And that's what makes LaMelo so special. That's what I'm saying.
You know what LaMelo is reminding me of? I don't know did you ever watch Equilibrium with our guy Christian Bale? This was a 2002 American science fiction action film.
No.
It was essentially, they had something called, it was like gun kata. So it was like gun karate. And
I love it.
And in fact, to get the movie to pull up on, because I couldn't remember the name of the movie, I had to search gun karate movie. And the reason,
How many returns did you get though?
the Equilibrium was the first, and then I got Gun Fu, which is a portmanteau of gun, and Kung Fu is a style of sophisticated close-quarters gunfight resembling a martial arts battle that combines firearms with hand-to-hand. But they called it gun kata in this movie, which starred Christian Bale, Tate Higgs. Everybody loves Tate Higgs.
Okay.
Emily Watson, Sean Bean. I believe Sean Bean was the bad guy in that movie.
Sean Bean from Terminator and Aliens.
Sean Bean, I think most people would know Sean Bean from
Mandalorian?
No, from Game of Thrones. He was the guy that gets his
I'm thinking of Michael.
Gets the old axe.
That's
to
a
the
big goof
head.
for me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yep. I'm thinking
Anyway,
of
moving on. You should feel really embarrassed. So why, you may ask, does he remind me of the hit film 2002 Equilibrium? Because in that film, they had this ability. It was a ripoff of The Matrix. It was a total ripoff of The Matrix. But the thing was, you could bend bullets. So the way you whipped the gun as you fired it with your karate moves would bend the bullet around corners, and they
It's
use
very
that
LaMelo-like as well. I feel like there's a whole genre of physics bending, bullet bending stuff. Michael Bean is who I was thinking of. He was in Terminator. And he was on the last season of Mandalorian, by the way.
It's an important clarification that we have to make.
But yeah, good to have LaMelo back. I would say.
Well, it's been amazing. I mean, his, there are definite moments where you go, wow, yeah, he's a rookie, and, he's turning the ball over in very odd ways. You're okay with the turnovers that are him trying to make a play. You're less okay. I'm less okay. The turnover that I'm less okay with LaMelo, that I know he's going to clean up LaMelo doesn't even have a body yet. I mean, we have to realize that. Like, he's going to get bigger, stronger, faster. Like, we don't even know the full evolution. LaMelo Ball is still a Squirtle. He's not even close to a Blastoise yet. So that's Pokemon reference, by the way, if you can get that, David. So he's got evolutions to go, but the one turnover that I hope gets cleaned up next season is him charging into two defenders and they just clamp down and just steal the ball away from him. He just hasn't, he misinterprets his
Yeah.
ability to split defenders. And we got chat here, by the way. Raucus on YouTube says kind of sounds like Wanted with the bending of bullets. Yeah,
Thank you.
listen,
That was the other one I was trying to think of. Wanted.
Equilibrium, I feel like stole a lot from a lot of movies. It was we call that, if we're nice, we call that a pastiche. We don't call it
Dynamite
stealing
dropping
from a lot of other movies. It's
on
just
the
a
chat.
pastiche.
Dynamite dropping on the chat. Yeah, I think LaMelo still has that. Let me get in the air and figure it out every once in a while. And of course, that just doesn't work as well in the NBA. He's extending plays just about as far as he can, and sometimes it goes just a little bit too far where he can't get it back. But you're right. I mean, he's not going to be perfect as a rookie, but I think he masters everything else to a degree that it just doesn't look like a rookie at all. So, he will improve. He will get stronger. And also, I mean, defenses will kind of, do things to stop some of the stuff he's doing. But he's so crafty that you just feel like he's going to figure new ways out to get things done too. So, and, the thing that you were worried about LaMelo was he was going to have entire games where he's airballing 3-pointers, right? Like he's taking super long 3-pointer. Right. It's not. He's not having any of those games that you saw in the highlights from Australia. He's having maybe one or two bad shots here or there at the end of a shot clock, but like it's not anything that's forced or that he's taken on himself to just say, hey, I can launch this from 45 feet.
I mean, his above the break three is one of the most effective shots he has. I would say the least effective thing that I've seen from him this season and on his return has been his sort of mid-range floater. That's gone begging more. So I think there were several points during that last Pistons game where I was like, dude, just take it all the way. Get some contact. Dude, maybe there's a little bit of trying to work his way back and fear of, I don't know if there's some fear of, getting injured again or what, but I mean, he's so much more effective when he can actually just get to the rim, but he's pulling up a lot for these floaters that just aren't going in. Now, if he masters that, all of a sudden, that's when you go, wow, he's an absolute triple, quadruple threat from anywhere on the floor. And it's going to be so tough to defend him if he can master all of those aspects of his offensive game.
And he's going to have an off season, and he's going to have NBA coaching, right? So like all this stuff should come. Think about if he can get even a little bit more explosive around the rim. I mean, he's got the height already. That would be certainly an added tool for him to use. So I'm excited to see him get back. He doesn't seem to be favoring the wrist or anything. Doesn't seem to be, showing any ill effects of that injury. So kudos to the doctors, the training staff, whomever, LaMelo, for chilling out and being ready to go.
All right, let's move on to some other stuff, and then we'll come back to the Hornets. We got to talk about Miles Bridges going into quarantine. He will be out, I believe, 7 to 10 days, I think was the estimate. So we'll tell you what that means. And also he's releasing some tweets from quarantine that I think are pretty funny, including
Quarant tweets.
So we can look at some Miles Bridges quarant tweets. And then we'll look at screen time, talk about some stats, and give out some awards. But I want to go to a news segment that we have here on the show called Tales from the Trails. We'll have some fancy music when I get back into my new studio here. But David, tell us what this segment is about.
Yeah, this is just about what I'm seeing out on the streets. I like to get out and put some miles on the old legs, Doug, and take a run around the block every once in a while. And, they're not always exciting, but sometimes you'll see something, you'll pass someone, you'll have an interaction with someone that is fun or is new, that is different. And yesterday I was walking, or I was running, and you see people passing by, they're walking their dogs, hopefully they're cleaning it up. I am a full believer in not giving people the old brick eyes, as you said. So when you're on a run, you just
contact.
You just give them a nod. Maybe that's the endorphins. Maybe that's the runner's high kicking in, because not everyone is reciprocal of that. Now, this particular gentleman that I started to approach gave me the nod, gave me just a little good morning. I had my earbuds in. But then as I passed him, I was like, I know that guy. That's
who was that
Charlotte broadcasting radio legend Jerry Valancourt.
Whoa, Jerry
No,
V?
I know Jerry V. Jerry V does not, in a sense, know me.
Sure.
Okay. So I was already, I don't know,
probably not too hip on the podcast game.
I was 20, 30 yards past him, but I was like, you know what? Let me turn around real quick.
Wow.
I turned around. He was already, yes, I never do this. Gave him a little Jerry V. He turned around expecting to see someone that he did know and recognize. And I was just like, just saying, hey, just wanted to say, hey, Jerry V. And he goes, and I still have my headphones in, but I could tell he was going, hello, how are you? And then went on his merry way. So, it's not often that you see a legend in the game like that.
Well, his legendary career is sunsetting a little bit. So I'm sure you made his day with,
well, the feeling was mutual.
So I'm not gonna fault you like I faulted you for calling legendary head coach Pat Riley Pat when you saw him on the street.
General manager, president of whatever.
It was just absurd.
Well,
I saw Mitch Kupchak right before I left Charlotte. I was walking to a coffee shop and he was in some running shorts. He was getting a little jog. I was not jogging. I was walking to get a cheese Danish. I was doing the opposite of what Mitch Kupchak was doing. But yeah, his running shorts on. He was getting a little morning jog in.
Now, Mitch has some long legs. Does he go with like the NBA standard issue shorts, or is he going with the 1980s?
It was above the knee. It was definitely above. It was all the way.
Well, I
would
imagine so. He'd have to have some Michael Jordan style shorts to be below the knee there. But
yeah, well, that's an important point. His above the knee would be to my ankles, probably.
Sure.
So,
Mitch, I've seen Mitch out and about a few times. He looks basically the same as he does when they show him on TV, which is pretty stern, a little gruff, not unapproachable, I'd say, but not lighting up the streets of Charlotte like Pat Riley was with that smile. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, speaking of Charlotte broadcasting legends, we've got a legend. I think he's already a legend, but you could say legend in the making. Maybe he's got some miles to go. But he took a big step in that direction of becoming a Charlotte broadcasting legend by getting a full write-up in the New York Times. In case you missed this, the voice of the Hornets is creating his own buzz is the name of the article in the New York Times. It's all about our guy, EC, Eric Collins. It's written by the great Jonathan Abrams. This is a must-read. David, what do you think? Our guy, EC, getting pub, not just in the New York Times. This felt like a culmination of people beginning to notice what we've been noticing all along, which is that EC lights the game up.
It's pretty cool to see. Eric Collins, he's been getting a lot of pub this year around Charlotte, of course, on the internet. But when the old gray lady enters the picture, Doug, that's kind of like the stamp of approval that you've arrived.
Is that what you say to your wife when you go out to get the paper? Going to get the old gray lady.
Going to get No, we don't get an actual paper. You know that. It's a cool article. It was a lot in his own words, and I just shout out to I'm guessing it was the editor who couldn't help but go for the buzz pun and the byline. I think that's just going to be a thing, right?
Yeah,
creating his own buzz, but yeah, I mean, it was cool because he talked a lot about
that seems boring to us, but national news has just recognized that Charlotte has a professional basketball team,
right?
Which kind of brings me to the main question that I have about this article, which is sort of a chicken and the egg thing. This article clearly, I think, is a result of LaMelo Ball. I mean, this article doesn't get written without
it starts
the
off
LaMelo
with that,
Ball
right?
factor.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from Eric Collins' greatness. It just goes to everything we've been talking about since we've been podcasting on the Hornets, which is that the reason why you're not seeing the Hornets on national news, people complain about that all the time, like, oh, they never talk about us. It's because there's nobody interesting to talk about.
Right.
Like, that's what they need. They need a LaMelo Ball. They need something that's fun to look at because ultimately this is an entertainment product. And for a long time, the Hornets, they've oscillated between somewhat competitive to not competitive at all. But even when they were somewhat competitive, we said it. Like, there's, the year that they went to the playoffs and took Miami to 7 games, like, they were somewhat competitive, David, but they weren't a fun team. They were doing a lot of, like, weird, boring things like Al Jefferson back downs. Now they were excited that Jeremy Lin brought some excitement to that team. Kimba was exciting to us, but not exciting on a national level.
They were kind of the Marvin Williams of NBA
Yeah.
teams. No shots at Marvin. I mean, solid,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
dependable. You know what you're
Solid,
going to get, but,
competitive,
not jumping off the screen.
doing the right things.
Right. Um, yeah, exactly. It's the same reason they haven't been able to trade anyone ever. They obviously have made some trades, but like they haven't had pieces that anyone either wants or wants to watch in a long, long time. So it's a different brand of Hornets basketball. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the LaMelo factor for sure, because EC's been doing this here for a while. And, I remember back when we first scouted Eric Collins on this show, or on the old show, Locked On Hornets show, Doug, we found some clips of him doing, like, I don't know, Rutgers or some college games, whatever he was doing. And we were all for it. I mean, we were excited to have him in the building, excited to add his brand of announcing to what was then, right, not a very exciting product. And now the two are married, and it just seems like everyone is on board. Not everyone is on board, but to me, you know what? That means you're doing something right. Like, he has detractors. He has people that think he's annoying or don't like his brand of announcing. And that's fine. That means you've picked a lane. That means you've got your identity. That means you are picking your way of doing things. And that's not going to change, because I think overwhelmingly it's positive, as opposed to being, having some detractors out there.
Oh, total. Listen, greatness is polarizing.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're doing something that everybody likes, then you're probably mediocre. And if you're doing something that nobody pays attention to, then you're definitely not doing anything worthy. If you do something great, there will always be a subset of people, however large, that want to tear you down. And I think that's why, part of the reason why Eric Collins isn't on social media, and he kind of talks about that in this article, that he doesn't want to let anyone get in his head and affect the thing that he does. He wants to keep it pure, and I think that's super cool and very unique to this day and age, where it feels like a lot of people that are influencers or people that are celebrities or people that are involved in some way in the entertainment product want to, like, create a brand. And Eric is saying, well, I'll create a brand, but you'll have to pay me for it. You'll have to come and watch the game. Like, I'm not going to create a brand online where I give my stuff away for free.
Yeah. The other part of that this season has been so unique. It's basically been him at the home games, right? I mean, especially to start the season, there's nobody in the building. But I don't think I don't think he's changed his tune a whole lot. I mean, he's kept being himself, but it's just been helped bring a different atmosphere to those games that felt kind of dead.
Well, you're right. He hasn't changed. It's
Right.
the fact that the Hornets doing great things has made his calls more genuine. I mean, you had Kemba there for a long time, and Kemba
True.
justified a lot of the things that we heard from Eric Collins and played on the show. But now everybody's doing. Now he's got Miles. Now he's got Terry. Now he's got LaMelo. I mean, it just seems like everybody's doing something worthy of getting those kind of calls. And so maybe, there's no kind of advanced statistics on how many times, he reaches a certain decibel level. But I guarantee you, if there were, you would be hearing it more often this season than in previous seasons. And it's more genuine now because these plays are legitimately exciting to a national audience.
Yeah, and I didn't know his complete history. I knew he had done the sideline work for the Bulls in the last days of MJ, kind of around the Last Dance era as well. But he was also he was also on the news side of things, doing stand ups and doing journalism, non-sports stuff. So he's got that experience, he's got that authenticity, and really found his style.
You know what's kind of scaring me though about this whole New York Times profile? It's kind of the same thing that scares me about LaMelo Ball, which is that they're going to get a little too big for the Queen City at some point. Hopefully,
so Nada and Walker were talking about this, but I mean, Eric Collins could be a national announcer and do Hornets games. I mean, you can do both. Mike Breen does both. Jeremy Rucco, I believe, for the Nets, and Richard Jefferson, they do both. Matty Devlin, former Bobcats announcer, for Toronto, he does both. So like that model is out there. And I think the only thing interesting to me about that, or the only question about that, is how, does the Hornets Eric Collins play on a larger, play on a national level, on a national game where you're doing not quite as much? And now, not to say you can't do it. I'm just saying you're not going to be doing that on both sides. You're not going to be exploding on both ends of the court when either team is doing something amazing, right?
Right. What makes Mike Breen work is that he has the bang. And the
Bang!
right, that's the thing. And then there's, there's a lot of in between where it's so
I
could
think he
he
could
do
do
that?
it.
I don't
I
know.
think he could do it for sure. Yeah.
I would like
But
to see it. I mean,
yeah,
it would hurt me if he stopped doing Hornets games. It would hurt me real bad. But
that'd be sad.
I would want him to be successful because I
Of
just
course.
I love what EC has done because he did it during the down times too. He's been here through the bad and the good.
But look, he's this. He does stuff. I mean, I don't know if he's done it this year, but you'll pop on a random like Fox Sports college game on a Sunday afternoon in February, and Eric Collins might be doing it. Like on an off time for the Hornets. I know he's done some stuff here and there. So now that may be through Bally's or Fox Sports or whatever it is now, but all the best for Eric Collins. Of course, we've always been in his corner.
So let's move on now and talk about this Miles Bridges situation. So we got the news before the Detroit Pistons game. PJ's out for personal reasons. Hopefully everything's okay there, and he can get back when he can. And then there's Miles Bridges that was out for the health and safety protocols, which one would assume is COVID related, and he has been. He did tweet quarantine EP ? So one would assume he's in quarantine for that reason. But this is the tweet. Let's see if I can share it here on Z screen. This is the tweet that I'm interested in that I think could provide some fodder for the show. Here it is. If you had the chance to take the serum to become a super soldier, would you do it? ? This tweet referring to, I guess he's catching up on a little Disney Plus. He's watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where this is a question that is sort of posed by the show itself. If you had the chance to take the serum to become a super soldier, would you do it? So, David, Miles put the question out there. What do you think? Serum's in front of you. What are you going to do?
Well, I feel like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the show, is saying no, don't do that. But I mean, isn't that how Captain America became Captain America? Didn't he? I mean, he took the serum, right? They created a super soldier.
Right, but I think, in that instance, there were a lot of interesting factors there where, original Cap wanted to be in the military. He wanted to be a part of that, and he didn't, and no one had done it before, and so he didn't really know the ramifications. There was a lot of unknown there. So I think Cap gets a pass for taking the serum where it is. I do think that the show is passing a value judgment on taking the serum. If you don't want any spoilers if you don't want any spoilers on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, now would be a great time to turn the show off. But
I find it as long as we're on that, I find it hard to believe that Sam, or that's his name, right? I watched the entire show, seen all the movies. Sam Wilson.
Yes,
is that his name?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how he wouldn't take it. I'll be honest with you. He's catching this thing, bouncing off trees. The shield that can chop things in half, but hits people in the head and doesn't decapitate them. He's catching them with his bare hands. I feel like he's got to do more than just run up and down the beach and do a Rocky montage to be able to handle this thing. I'm sorry.
I feel you. Well, let me turn the question this way and say, if you had the chance to take a serum that turns you into Miles Bridges, would you do it?
Yes,
in terms of his ability to dunk and do all of the amazing things that he does on a basketball court.
Yes, if only for a day.
Yes, 1,000 times. Yes, 1,000 times. Yes, even if it turned me into a raging egomaniac, and I lost all my family and friends. Give me that serum.
Give me the jump juice.
Let us know what you think on our YouTube page. You can leave a comment on the show. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/HornetsPod. Let's talk seriously, though, about Miles Bridges. How disappointed are you that he is going to be out during this crucial period where the Hornets really he's been their leader. He's been their leading scorer. I believe he's been their leading rebounder. I mean, he's meant a lot to this team, and now they don't have him.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't had more, to be honest with you. I mean, they've been pretty lucky or fortunate, or they've handled things well during
Yeah,
this pandemic season.
Yeah, they got caught up early. I feel like they missed 2 games, Washington, New York, that they'll make up at the very end. But that wasn't really even their fault. It was because they were exposed, I think, to Washington, who had a big outbreak.
Yeah, I mean, and they just haven't missed a lot of players for that reason. I mean, Monk, I guess to start the season, right, was out before he kind of came back and jumped back into things. But as the season got going, all the testing they were doing, all the precautions they were taking, they've handled it pretty well. It's hit them at an inopportune time, it would appear. And the thing we don't know, I mean, I guess you could go back and look at it, is just how an individual person is going to come back and react after. And we don't even know at this point if he is tested or has it or has been exposed, right? I mean, they don't release all those details, so we don't know the specifics of his situation, right?
Right. So, I mean, if it's 7 to 10 days, he could possibly be back for the Clippers game on Thursday, May 13th. But more likely, we're looking at a return on one of those final 2 makeup games. There are currently no time scheduled for those, but scheduled for May 15th, 16th. The good news is that, it seems in all likelihood that they're going to have Miles Bridges and PJ Washington back for the play-in game. Again, unless they lose out. I think really losing out seems like the only way that they don't make this play-in. And I would say this, too, if you're looking for silver linings. I mean, look, you can be mad at Miles. It's happened to a lot of teams and a lot of players. I don't think long-term this really means anything. Obviously, it's tough, but I think his teammates, just like they did Monk, all the teammates supported Monk through that early thing, and he's come back and played well. So I'm not going to, assign some, does this mean Miles Bridges can never be a leader? It's just a weird season. Let it go. But I think it's a good warning shot to the entire team as we approach the playoffs, saying, "Hey, everybody, let's get it together. We can't have this happen again, especially during the playoffs." And I'll say too, it allows LaMelo Ball to do what he did against Detroit and say, "All right, I'm going to put the team on my back and try to make this thing happen." And I think getting him to that level as we approach the playoffs is not going to be a bad thing.
Yeah, you're right. And you look at that stretch; those are going to be tough games anyway. Certainly without Miles, they appear to be a bit more daunting. But I think the magic number, as we sit here today, is 3 for the Hornets. So that would be 3 wins, and they're in the play-in game, to some degree.
It's a magic number.
But certainly a little bit disappointing. But yeah, I mean, you can't. I don't know. I'm not going to level blame on any of these guys without knowing any further details. But to your point, I think it is a good thing. Say, hey, all right, let's do some playoffs for a little while, and then we can all kind of figure things out.
The one disappointing part is I really felt like as the team was getting healthier, it was finally going to give Terry Rozier an opportunity to take a breather or at least, lean back a little bit in his role in the offense. But now without Miles, you're going to have to depend on Terry to produce some offense because looking at the box score from Detroit, I'm telling you right now, I know you want to believe it, but you're not going to get 17 points from one of the Martin twins. You're not going to get the production off the bench every single game. So, you really have to lean on Terry some more and hope that he can provide some efficient offense. Yeah, how many did they get? They got 17 from Caleb. They got 10 from McDaniels. You could easily expect that. 15 from Brad Wanamaker on 5 free throws.
Man.
11 from Cody Zeller. You can depend on that. Vernon Carey, by the way, gave some good minutes. I felt like
good minutes, yeah.
Opportunity. Monk was 0 of 8, so you expect that to change, hopefully. I mean, that has to
Yeah,
change.
that has to change. They got to get something out of him, and they also need to hope they can get Devontae back up and running, because if they can kind of shuffle in that 3 guard lineup, maybe that would help Terry as well. Take a few minutes off of him here and there. But he was, down the stretch. Not only did he want the ball, but he took 2 of the closing shots in that game that really helped seal it. Got his own offensive rebound too, so he was fighting for that one.
I know we all made the weird well, Terry's not coming in here to be Kemba, when they made the trade. And, Terry said that, I'm not Kemba. And we were all like, yeah, obviously you're not Kemba Walker. That's why everybody's kind of crashing on the deal. But he really has the Kemba-like quality of, I can play terrible for 3 quarters and still come and beat you in the 4th quarter. And you kind of have to love that. What you don't love is the fact that since we last left you, over the last 5 games, Terry is 34% from the field, 30% from 3. And I get it. He's tired, and he has every right to be tired because he's carried this offense. But the fact is, they have to have him. He has to play better if the Hornets want to pick up enough wins to get that opportunity to get the 7th seed and get those 2 opportunities to stay in it. So.
Yeah. I wonder if JB tries to find some time for him, to not put as many minutes on his legs as things go. But it's tough. It's tough when you have to keep winning to stay in the hunt, right? So,
all right, let's. I think we've yammered enough. I want to give some medals out before we get out of here. Let's take a look at the screen time this past 5 games. Miles Bridges, the guy that we won't see for a little bit, has been leading in minutes, 36.7. Terry Rozier, 35.3. P.J. Washington, 34.6. Again, we'll have to get some more information. Devontae Graham played 32 minutes a game, only featured in 3 of them, all losses, but was, to your point, David, was shouldering a lot of minutes. Now you'll look for an increase of minutes to LaMelo Ball, probably to Malik Monk and Jalen McDaniels. Gold medal, who do you think? Got to be Melo, right?
Got to be LaMelo. Yeah.
Got to be LaMelo, just doing amazing things on the floor, things that excite us, that confuse us. 16 points per game in the 3 games that he was featured, 6.7 rebounds. I don't want to cheat him that 0.7, and 6 assists. I mean, David, 16, 7, and 6 with 4 turnovers. That's tough, but 2.3 steals and a block. What? What?
Yeah, and you really think those assists and turnover numbers are going to get better as, he gets some people around him in future years that can catch as well?
I don't give a damn. If you're going to come up with 2 steals and a block to go along with 7 and 6 and 16, that's fine. Have a couple of turnovers.
Oh, man. I saw a tweet last night about comparing, it was pretty raw numbers, but it was Quickly and LaMelo, and I don't know. Some of the numbers they cherry picked made it out to seem like Quickly is better. And I like Quickly, right? He's fun, he's good, but it's just look, guys, one is leading the team, one is the point guard, one is the starting point guard, one is impacting winning, one has the ball in his hand the entire time. One is making an impact on the entire league, and the other one is Emmanuel Quickly. So, I mean, let's don't do this.
Boom, mic drop, got him. Take that, Quickly.
Bang.
More like slowly. All right. Silver medal.
Whew. I mean, is Terry kind of the default, or is he in your bronze?
I feel like Terry's going to get the bronze this week. Miles is going to get the silver. I could even make a case for bronze for Caleb Martin for a pretty heroic performance to get.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Terry is going to have to take a seat for 1 week. We're giving him rest. That's what we're doing. We're not telling him he's not getting a medal. We just want to give him some rest. So this week, LaMelo gold. Miles gets the silver. He averaged 20 points this week on 51% shooting, 38% from 3, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. So he gets the silver. And then bronze is going to go to Caleb Martin for a heroic performance that kept the Charlotte Hornets streak alive against the Detroit Pistons.
Man, much needed. Thank you, Caleb. Congratulations, too.
Thank you, Caleb. We're making it up as we go along, folks, but it's only getting better. Thanks for tuning in. If you tuned in live, that's great. You can YouTube, search This Is Not a Serious Hornets podcast. For David, I'm Doug saying go Hornets, go America. Let's swarm Charlotte. See you next week.